Finding function values from a graph. Evaluating a function using a graph also requires finding the corresponding output value for a given input value. Only in this case we find the output value by looking at the graph. Solving a function equation using a graph requires finding all instances of the given output value on the graph and observing the corresponding input value. So, for example 12, we want to read the function values from the graph using figure 6. Okay, so for part A, we want to evaluate f of 2. So we need to look at this 2 and find out whether this is an input or an output. Remember that what's inside the parentheses here represents the input. So that means the input 2 is given. So that means that's the value of x, which is the x-axis. So what you're going to do is, since 2 is our input, we're going to start at 0 and then go to the right to the value of 2. Okay, and then we want to figure out from there, okay, the output is where does it touch the graph from 2. So now when we go up, okay, we can see that it hits the value of the y at 1. So that means that with the input of 2, the output is 1. So again, to evaluate f of 2, we locate the point on the curve where x is equal to 2, and then read the y-coordinate of that point, and that point has the coordinates 2, 1, so we would say f of 2 is equal to 1, and that means the same thing here. Now part B, what it's asking us is, we're saying, okay, well, we're looking for x because we don't know what that is. That means we're looking for the input, but we're given the output, and the output represents the y-coordinate. So the output 4 is given. So that means here at the value of 4, we're going to draw a line through the value of 4 on the y-axis. Okay, and so what does that mean? That means that if I take this point that goes through the graph here at positive 4, I'm going to go down to figure out, okay, what point is it hitting on the x-axis? Well, it's negative 1. And then over here also, if I go down, okay, well, what number is it hitting on the x-axis? Well, it's 3. So that means there's 2 inputs. That means we have an input of negative 1 and we have an input of 3. So again, to solve f of x is equal to 4, we find the output value 4 on the vertical axis, moving horizontally along the line y equals 4. We locate 2 points of the curve with output value 4. So there are 2 points, negative 1, 4, and 3, 4. And these points represent the 2 solutions to f of x, which is equal to 4, negative 1 or 3. And that means that f of negative 1 is equal to 4, and f of 3 is equal to 4. Or when the input is negative 1 or 3, then we can say that the output is 4.